At
I think
Rosewood,
they could have done
no.
it with Rosewood.
That's not enough. That doesn't have enough magnitude. Okay, he loves Rosewood, they're brothers, whatever, but not enough to go back to Beverly Hills for
I
some
think so.
shenanigans he's wrapped
Well,
up
part
in.
2,
That would have
the
been
reason
lazy.
Part 2, the reason he went back was because the chief was in trouble.
I think it's what makes this one fresh. I think it's part of why it was good. Welcome to the Old Brother Podcast. My host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith.
How's it going today, Dan?
It's going good, man. We're back. We're going to talk about Beverly Hills Cop Axel F, man. I can't believe it's been 30 years.
It's crazy.
We did a first look on this like we do most films, and I was eagerly anticipating it. I mean, not just because it's been 30 years, but I certainly liked the original Beverly Hills Cop, and 2 was okay. 3 was a complete embarrassment.
3 was a train wreck.
Right, and Murphy himself says that. Eddie Murphy is on record. In fact, that I think he's quoted as saying it's one of the reasons that he did this film, which,
yes,
this one's been in, we won't go down the litany of like that list, but it's been in development purgatory since like the 90s.
Since the third one.
Right. Which was
because
94.
he wanted to make up for this.
Yeah.
For the third one.
Right. Right.
And there's a joke you pointed out in the movie that's quite subtle.
Yeah, this and so this is on Netflix exclusively, which is one of the things I think we commented on when we did the first look. So it, as of this recording, it just came out a few days ago, July 3rd, just before the holiday, 2024, just shy of 2 hours. It's an hour and 58 minutes. Directed by Mark Malloy, who I know we talked about this in the first look as well. This is his first, this is his directorial debut.
Right.
And then run down the cast. You get a lot of the main players from the original, 3 films, with obviously Eddie Murphy as Axel F. He also produces. Joseph Gordon-Levitt is new to the franchise. He plays Bobby Abbott. We'll talk about his character. Taylor Page, who plays Murphy's daughter rather in the film, Jane. Judge Reinhold is back as Billy. John Ashton is back from retirement, apparently.
He wasn't in 3.
Correct. Right. He was retired.
Now, was 3, because I watched the original, but I didn't go any further than that. But one of them, Judge Reinhold, has like,
it was 3
AK-47s,
right?
And
right.
Was that 3 or 2?
It was 3, but it was being set up before then. That wasn't really a brand new thing, but they took it to a ridiculous extreme and
insane level.
John Ashton, I mentioned, is back, and as Taggart.
He's back in spirit, anyway.
He's back. Paul Reiser is back. Bronson Pinchot is back as Serge.
I didn't recognize him.
Really?
I wouldn't.
He looks exactly the same. He just had a blonde wig this time.
Right. Maybe it was the wig, but
it's exactly the same.
I knew it was him from the voice, but if you said, without him saying anything, if you said, "Who is that?" I would be like, no clue.
Yeah. And then Kevin Bacon is another new cast member here who plays a detective, a cop, whatever. He's a crooked cop. We pretty quickly figure that out. I probably figured it out as soon as I saw him on camera. It's like,
except for Chief Taggart.
Correct. Yeah, John Ashton's character. So, as of right now, as of today, this is the number 1 film on Netflix.
Yeah.
I didn't realize, but the 5th is already in development.
Well, after seeing this, I thought, there could be a 5th one. Unlike Coming to America, which I think that's also in development, a 3rd one.
3rd one, yeah.
But the second one was horrible. The one he did for Amazon.
It says production began back in 2022.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And what was interesting? When you go through that list of everybody that's been connected to this project over the years.
Mhm.
The guys that um, were attached just before Mark Malloy came in as to
Mhm.
direct left to go direct Batgirl, which we now know
Wow.
ended up getting shelved.
Wow.
So that's kind of an
I
interesting.
wonder is that's gotta show up somewhere.
I don't know.
I
Someone's
mean,
probably got a
wasn't
bootleg of
Pattinson
it.
didn't even he make an appearance in it?
I don't know. I don't
I
recall much
think that's
about
what I
the filming.
heard.
Yeah. Right now it's got a Metascore, I think, of about 55 on IMDb and a split on Rotten Tomatoes 60-80, with 80% being the audience take.
Okay. Okay.
So um, but yeah, the first one comes out in 84, Beverly Hills Cop 1987, and then the third one we mentioned 1994, which was one of the funniest things in the film that you mentioned that I shared with you, which is um Joseph Gordon-Levitt's characters got
I
Murphy
like
in
his
in
look, by the way. He's
he
got
looks good with the
a
beard.
a beard. He looks pretty
Yeah.
good.
Yeah, a little kind of long hair. He is, Murphy's Axel is sitting beside him at his desk because he's a cop too. And at one point he says, "Have you even looked at your own sort of rap sheet? Have you seen your file?" And he's going through. He goes, that you did this and that. This was 84. Then there's 87, 1994. Not your finest hour, which was just
Right,
a
and
great
he doesn't
jab.
react at all.
No, it's great.
You know,
Great,
Eddie
great
Murphy
jab.
just kinda rolled with it. It was really
I
funny.
I liked from the beginning where they, and I don't often like this, but I liked that they leaned into like the classic soundtrack right off the bat. Like
Correct.
before I hit record, you were singing Bob Seger
That's right.
Shakedown. And
And
and I
and
I liked it in this. It worked for me.
right, and it starts with Glenn Frey, "The Heat Is On,"
Mhm.
which was from the first movie. Now, Shakedown wasn't till part 2.
2, right. Right.
And another trivia question here, Bob Seger's only number 1 hit was Shakedown. Can
Mm,
you believe that?
that's wild. That's
All his
crazy.
hits?
That's crazy. Well, number 1, certainly not, top 10, but number 1. Okay. So what so I as a sequel, as an installment 30 years later, and
Mhm,
considering the dreck that was Beverly Hills Cop 3, I
mhm.
enjoyed it. I don't know if I would have had the same impression if I had paid and gone to the theater to see it. I think this was a perfect film to have on a streaming platform like
Right.
Netflix.
And he again, his last 2 movies, Coming to America 2 and
Mhm.
now Beverly Hills Cop, Axel F,
Right.
we really don't know,
Mhm.
what an audience would have from the beginning, I was like you, the Pointer Sisters started playing. I was into it from the start and he slipped right into his character
He
from
did,
the
yeah.
original.
He did, and again, if you had seen the 3rd more recently, like, he was clearly just phoning that in.
Yes.
It was so forced, not to mention the story was horrible. So, at
Right.
least in this, I thought it was interesting. I thought it worked bringing in this character as his daughter, who he's estranged from, and they end up kinda being this buddy cop duo to
Yeah, we
solve
split
this.
there.
You don't like that? I thought they
There's
had
where
great chemistry
I
on
think they
screen.
could have taken her out of this film
Oh, no
and made
way.
it a tight 90-minute film. That storyline
No, I thought it was good.
with his daughter, it didn't
I thought it
work
was
for
good.
me.
I
And
mean,
I
it's what propels the whole thing forward.
Yeah, but I think what they could have done is Judge Reinhold's barely in it,
Well, so 20 minutes into it, he gets taken away, and we
and
never
he's
see him
gone.
again until the end.
And I think,
What that was about.
they needed a reason to get him to Beverly Hills,
Correct.
right? That was the daughter.
Correct.
It could have been Rosewood, which is the character Judge Reinhold plays. It
Mhm.
could have been, he left the force recently because, he thought there was bad cops, and that would be the reason for him to go. And I think they would have given him more screen time. I like Gordon-Levitt. I like Kevin Bacon as a heavy. I didn't think there was chemistry with him and the daughter.
Oh, absolutely. There was great chemistry.
Total disagreement there.
No, great chemistry. I thought she did a really good job of.
And granted, they've been estranged for 5 years, right? So there's gotta be a little distance there. It's not like lovey-dovey and hugs and
I
kisses.
think it was much longer than 5 years, wasn't it? Was it
Well,
like
at
since he
one
was
point
5 or something? Like,
well, at
he
one point, she says to him, "Why don't you just go back to Detroit and I'll see you in the next 5 years." So that's where I got the 5 years
oh,
from, because
okay. I
they
don't remember
really
that.
weren't specific,
I don't
but
remember that detail,
yeah,
but
that quote
right,
kinda
and it isn't like we knew of this character or there was some
no,
relationship in the 3rd one that that obviously this has transpired over the 30-year period, but
right.
there's no better way to get a character like that to return to Beverly Hills than his daughter basically being held hostage or threatened rather.
But
At
I think
Rosewood,
they coulda done
no.
it with Rosewood.
That's not enough, that doesn't have enough magnitude to okay, he loves Rosewood, they're brothers, whatever, but not enough to go back to Beverly Hills for
I think
some
so.
shenanigans he's
Well,
wrapped up in. That would have been lazy.
part 2, the reason he went back was because the chief was in
I
trouble.
think it's what makes this one fresh. I think it's part of why it was good. If this character wasn't in it, then we don't have the Joseph Gordon-Levitt character, who I thought was really good.
No, you coulda kept him.
But no, you couldn't have because he had a relationship with the daughter.
Right, but
There was
that
a
was
whole angle there.
they really didn't even
They did.
we
Played
didn't know
off
how
the fact
serious
he
it
knew that he was
was.
having intercourse with his daughter, and there was all these
That's
jokes
it.
about it. That wasn't just it. That wasn't just it.
I don't know. And I'm not
If it
trashing the
was
film.
if it was as you said, I think it would just come off as like a lazy 4th installment. Okay, get
Well,
the gang back together, banana in the tailpipe again,
yeah,
come on.
but don't you think the beginning, the guy who directed this popped in the first one and said, "Okay, I'm gonna do this and this. I'm gonna steal this. I'm gonna steal
A
that."
little bit.
Like,
Yeah, sure.
and when he's I don't need for a 4th time to see him driving in Beverly Hills with the
I liked it.
yoga,
I
and
liked it. I liked
it
it.
was so stale.
Yeah, but
And
it's
plus, since when can you talk to people while you're in a gas-powered vehicle, and you can talk to people with the windows up and they hear you and you can converse,
from the
"Hey, how you
street.
I can arrest you for that."
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
"Oh,
No,
screw you,
I
Foley."
I liked it because of the updating of the references. I thought it was funny, and you got the music playing. You got "Hot in the City" kind of remixed by Billy Idol. I think it
Mhm.
worked. I like that. Um,
And I
there
did like the open, and I think it was more for the music than
s-
anything else.
See, that was one of the only things I had a problem with was that opening sequence with that character, this other cop that obviously this rookie cop that he's trying to.
Right, at
He's
the
just
hockey game.
he's just manipulating this kid to break this case wide open that he's been following, and I just thought the chemistry there was the weakest. I thought it was
Yeah,
just kind of goofy.
although it slid into him, creating a persona. I'm the I my grandfather was in the Negro Leagues. I thought
Right.
that was
I've won
hysterical.
5 Stanley Cups. Yeah,
Right.
Murphy was good. It just
Yes.
I don't think the other actor that
Yeah.
was a good match, uh, but yeah, I mean the classic soundtrack, the main cast is back. It's a decent story, and I
Now
thought there was some funny bits.
you gotta admit they make Taggart out to be a boob. I mean, if he can't
Yeah,
he
sure.
trained Kevin Bacon, come on. You can't tell he's a corrupt cop the
Right,
second you see him,
right,
not just
right.
as an audience member, but
Yeah,
as a
yeah.
cop.
Yeah, yeah. No, he was the butt of the joke for sure, but that didn't bother me that much. I thought it was funny for the most part. But you're right, it's far fetched. There's no
Yeah.
question about it.
And not 1, but 2 slow speed chases
Which I thought
was
was
a
funny.
I thought
So
that was a turn
no,
off.
the
I
the the
mean, he's
woman
in a ticket
A
the
meter maid
a meter
vehicle.
maid
And
car.
the woman who played the actress who played that meter maid was really funny, I thought. She held her own in that scene with
If
Murphy.
they didn't shoot the scene in the hockey arena with him on a similar vehicle, I
Mm.
would have been fine, but they did it twice. It was like, "Okay, we already saw that joke."
Yeah, but I thought it was funny because then in that same sequence, he ends up, getting arrested, and these cops are driving, like, one of those Matchbox-sized BMW
Right.
cop cars,
A
and
Lego car.
he calls them the Lego cops.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what I didn't like Kevin Bacon's character. I thought it was way over the top.
It was over the
He
top.
was leaning into it like he was Scarface or something. It was just really silly.
Yeah.
Like as you said, bad enough that, the guy that trained him isn't even onto the scent, but to believe that he was in this underworld and okay, perfect example, right? There's a sequence in which Kevin Bacon's character is snorting cocaine. Come on.
Right.
Which
Right.
is where I get the Scarface, right? Like, I don't need
You
that
did,
level of
and it was so
exposition.
unnecessary.
Yeah.
He was already set up as a bad guy. He's got these goons working for him, and
Right.
he justifies it to, Foley and his daughter. It was just
It
stupid.
was stupid. Luis Guzman, who good lord, I mean, this
Right.
guy's been around since forever. He's been in everything.
Carlito's Way
But
comes
I
to mind.
but it was another performance I felt like we didn't need.
Right.
That didn't land as well for me.
Yeah, he was a little bit flamboyant, which isn't his kinda thing.
and he like loves karaoke. It was just
Right.
unnecessary. There's one really bad edit in the film that I picked up on, and I'm sure you didn't, but go back and watch it.
Yeah.
I pulled the timestamp just so folks could go back to view this
Right.
at about 22 minutes and 25 seconds. This is on the ride into Beverly Hills. He's in this old beat up Bronco.
Yes. Rent-A-Wreck.
He takes a right on a street. It's just it
Yes!
just goes boop, like
It's
he's on a
clearly on a
totally
track.
swivel.
Right. I
It was
caught that.
it was so stupid.
And
I'm like,
and I
how do you
did
not
watch
pick
it.
up on that?
I did actually watch it twice, but
You
I
did.
noticed it the first
You
time,
saw it, see?
and the
I showed you.
second time, it was even worse because you knew it was coming.
Yeah,
It was like watching somebody on a Disney World ride take a
right.
corner. It was silly.
It was silly, yeah. But all the other performances, the from the smallest to, like Murphy, I thought they were solid.
Yeah.
There was some like a couple of the bad guys in this that like they're like basically assassins, guns for hire, working for I guess Kevin Bacon's,
Right.
right?
The guy
But
with the
these guys,
boots, with the.
right, they're curled up boots and like couldn't see any of his skin with tattoos for days, and
Mhm.
I'm like, what do these guys do for like, is this their are they
Right.
actor? I don't know, like
And unless we hadn't seen it in
pretty
the
pigeonholed.
news, we wouldn't believe that you could get out and gun down a car, but we know that that happens.
Sadly, it happens. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
now Gordon-Levitt blasting them both in the back of the head with no warning, that wouldn't happen, but,
Right. Right.
so they pushed it over the cliff a little bit, but
He was a really good addition to this. Like I'd like to see him return
yes.
if this true that they're going to develop a fifth one.
I honestly think if you go back and you take out the daughter and you
Mhm.
film it, you adjust the story a little bit, which I think is pretty easy.
Mhm.
I think you've got a better movie and it's a tighter movie.
Mhm.
Now,
No, that it's
what about all the people who are watching this like Beverly Hills Cop? What's that?
what?
Like,
First of all, there's nobody watching this that isn't tapped into that
well,
generation of films.
I mean, you have to
Plus,
be
it's number 1 on Netflix. Everybody's aware
right.
of it. Everybody's and to that point though that you say that,
Yeah.
you could put this on and not really see the other 3, and I think it would be fairly enjoyable. You wouldn't get the satisfaction of the nostalgic references, but
Mhm.
but
Mhm.
you've got all that main cast coming back, and I think the performances stand on their own, but,
I
yeah, I don't
really
know.
liked Eddie Murphy unlike 3, like you
Right.
said,
Oof,
he
God,
phoned that in, and,
terrible.
originally, this is a Sylvester Stallone film from the
Mhm.
start, Beverly
Yeah.
Hills Cop, and he even rewrote
Right.
the movie to fit him.
Well, you notice there was a sly reference in there about Rambo.
Well, there was in part 2 as
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
where that same poster is on, Rosewood's
Well,
wall
that's
in
it.
part
It's
2.
Rosewood's like this obsession with, this guns and knives and
Right,
just because he's such a meek, seemingly meek character, but yet
right.
he's got this, love of heavy
But if
artillery.
if you never saw Beverly Hills Cop, would you tune in for this? Because
Yeah,
Eddie Murphy, let's
I
face
think
it, he's not really at the top. He got 15,000,000 for this, by the way.
I think people will. I think again, net first of all, Netflix is just the dominant player in the game, and
I think
if
that was an important part.
if it's in the algorithm, trending at number 1 right now, that's not gonna hold, of course, but, people
Yeah,
will I think people will devour it. I think they will regardless, or, it makes them go back and watch the others. Don't
right.
watch the 3rd one, folks,
Don't
if you
watch
haven't
the
seen it
3rd
already,
one.
but,
In fact,
um
I have the first 2 on 4K, and I didn't bother to pick up the Blu-ray on the
3
3rd.
3 is just so bad, and not to mention Detective Todd. I love that character from the
Right,
original. He gets
right.
wasted in the first 5 minutes of the 3rd one, which was brutal, but I did love it was, we mentioned Paul Reiser back as Jeffrey, and
And he had a bigger part.
he's now the deputy chief,
Right,
and, it just there's some funny interplay between he and Murphy at one point. He's saying how bad he looks, and he gets
right.
out of the car, drops him at the airport. Murphy's like says to some cop on the sidewalk, "You believe we're the same age? He looks horrible." He's giving him shit. And Bronson Pinchot bringing back that same when he,
Ahmed,
get the
Ahmed.
out of here. No, I
Yeah,
cannot. It's
right,
the same
right,
bit, but it works. It just
right.
works. It's
Now,
so good.
I don't know about you, but I went in with very low expectations. I was not expecting much.
Mm,
So it didn't take much in
yeah.
the beginning to get me right back into it.
I had higher expectations, I think, than you probably, but the 3rd one was so bad once again that
Yeah,
it didn't take much to outpace that, so,
correct.
you know
And again, I think there's more good than bad, but I
yeah,
think that, um
totally disagree with not having the because it adds a new dynamic. It's something now they can play out even further in the 5th one with the
right.
daughter,
True.
bring Joseph Gordon-Levitt back, and she did a fantastic job in the role.
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with the actress. I just thought the chemistry wasn't
See, I
I
really
didn't get
well,
any
like
warm and fuzzy.
but you kinda said it yourself. Maybe that's a testament to
It could
right?
be.
They're estranged,
True.
so there's this resistance for her to even let him in
Yes.
for 2/3 of the film.
Yes.
So, I don't know,
But
it'd be
I
interesting to
I'm
see what other people think about that.
I'm in total agreement with the score that they gave it on IMDb with a 60. To me, that's where it lands.
Yeah,
It's
55,
better
60.
than
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
better than it is bad.
right. There's your review. There's
Yeah.
your that's gonna be,
E.B.
all over
White, that's gonna be in his new grammar book
yes, yeah.
if they bring him back to life.
It's a great marketing, line they can use. Yeah, I agree with that. I mean, I may not put it quite that way, but, it was satisfying to me as someone who was a huge fan of the first one and have seen it hundreds of times probably, at this
And
point in my
again,
life.
being huge Eagles fans and Glenn Fry fans, and Bob Seger was like
Yeah,
my number 1 rock guy.
Eagles, you mean the music band,
Right.
not the
And
football team. Sorry, folks.
another quick trivia, "Heartache Tonight" by the Eagles, written by Bob Seger. So there's all sorts of
Hey,
little
there we go.
connections
A
there.
and then Bob Seger, we were gonna do like a 6 degrees of Kevin Bacon on this one because he's in the goddamn thing, but yeah, it was good. It was satisfying. Again, I don't know if I would have the same exact feeling if I had shelled out 17, $18 for a
Right.
ticket,
Right.
I don't know. I don't know. But I think for if you're a fan of the franchise, you're gonna enjoy the
Yeah.
film, you
And
know.
and again, this is a perfect Netflix
Mhm.
release. You know what I
Yes.
mean? If it let's
Yes.
say they did put it in the theater, not sure it would have done great. If
No.
Fall Guy flamed out, I don't think
Exactly.
this would have done
I don't
much.
think it would have made its money back, to be honest with
Yeah.
you. And we'll never know quite how well it does, with the
Right, and all I know is
Netflix.
that Murphy got 15,000,000, which I thought was a pretty hefty paycheck given,
Sure.
3 and so
Sure.
Netflix, they're willing to spend money, as is Apple TV and some other
Oh,
streamers
yeah.
unlike Disney.
Absolutely. That's where the money's at, folks. That's
Yeah.
where they're yeah. Well, so thumbs up, thumbs halfway. Where are you at with this one?
Yeah,
What's the rating?
I think it's a positive, more
Yeah.
positive than negative, but
So you
I could have used a 90-minute helping instead of a 2 hour.
okay, so if I don't subscribe to Netflix, should I subscribe to see this?
No,
Okay.
no,
Okay.
but it's definitely I mean, you can get Netflix with commercials pretty cheap. We get it because of our phone.
Right.
Otherwise, I would have had to I would have had to sign up for, like, a 7-day trial, my
Yeah.
18th.
But yeah, I think it's a good catch on streaming for sure.
Yeah,
And again, especially if you have Netflix already, for sure,
and I
check it out.
watched it twice, so that says something. I didn't
Yeah.
watch it twice for this podcast. I watched it twice because I kinda wanted to see if
Yeah.
I missed something the first
I
time.
don't know that I love that this talk of a fifth one. I mean, even if, as you said, you can see where they leave off with this one, that's okay. I
Right.
can see a fifth storyline here, but let's just wrap it up with a nice bow, right? The third was terrible. You got some redemption here with this installment. Let's just call it a day,
Yeah,
you know?
he's gonna have to move to I mean, a 5th time, a 5th reason to go back to Beverly Hills, that
Question
alone.
question is, would Judge Reinhold get any more screen time? Like, what I wonder what's up with that. He was completely relegated to just a
He
ancillary
was.
character.
I know, and again, I think that could have been rectified.
It's almost like I don't know what the contract negotiations were, but if you look at 3, John Ashton isn't in it at all, and now
Right.
he's in it more than Reinhold. I don't know, it's just
True,
weird. It's
true.
weird. Yeah.
Yeah,
I would have liked to have seen Judge Reinhold in this one
and I
more.
think his minutes went to the daughter, and that's why I would eliminate that character, but it
Mm.
has nothing to do with her performance or I just, I thought there was a better way, and I did wanna see more Judge Reinhold.
Yeah, well, maybe you keep her, you get rid of Luis Guzman and Kevin Bacon, and you make
Correct.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt the heavy.
I liked him.
Yeah, make him the
Definitely
bad guy.
liked him,
I got a
and
real quick shout out to the stunt people who did that helicopter work in this film.
Mhm.
Holy sh
Yeah.
I mean, that was some of the most death-defying stunt work in a helicopter I've ever seen.
Well, I
It
wondered
was crazy.
if it was, a wired kind of a
I
thing
don't think so. I think this was just a
because it was
highly
very low to the ground.
and it was like imitating, almost, potential crash at any moment and just
Yeah.
really wild. So whether I mean, I gotta believe a lot of that was practical, if not all of it, but if it isn't and I'm wrong and those watching know better, drop it in the comments, let us know. So, and if you've seen this film, go out to well, if you're watching this right now, you're on the YouTube channel, so don't forget to like and subscribe. But drop us some comments and let us know what you think. Did you like the film? Are
Yes.
you a fan of the first 3?
Right.
Probably not the 3rd one, but, I would really love to hear from someone who hasn't seen the other 3 but
Me
saw
too.
this. That would be interesting.
I wanna hear both opinions. I want people
Yeah.
like us that know all 3.
Mhm.
Um, I went to the theater for the first one, so
Yeah. Yeah.
I wanna hear that opinion, and I wanna hear an opinion from somebody that's just coming into the franchise knowing nothing.
It would have been cool if they could have brought in a couple more just really, some supporting cast from some of the previous ones, just like some really out of left field characters
Yeah.
that were familiar enough that we would recognize, but weren't major cast players in the original 3. I thought
And given
was
that
fun.
this is Netflix, unless it's gonna go to Criterion, which it certainly won't,
Yeah.
it's not gonna get a physical release, so there go the extras likely.
You think?
I'd
You
like
don't think
to I'd
it'll
like
get packaged, repackaged?
No.
Okay.
Netflix, the president has come right
Notorious.
out and said,
Yeah,
"My enemy is physical media."
sure.
And
Well,
the only films that have gone from Netflix to physical
yeah.
media have gone Criterion.
Ironically, that's how the company started, but, what do I know?
I
You
know,
know?
mailing them,
In the
getting a little
mailbox, you remember
thing
that,
yeah,
folks? You remember that, kids, back when you used to get movies in the
back
mailbox?
Blockbuster
Yeah,
Video.
back in my day.
Didn't they make a reference to Blockbuster Video? I thought Taggart did in this one.
Taggart. Wow, you
Chief
getting
Taggart.
Mike's getting tired, folks. We gotta wrap it up because the R's are not getting pronounced anymore. Um, so there you go. There's a review. Beverly Hills Cop Axel F on Netflix now. Check it out. It's a recommendation from the Oh Brother podcast. So let us know what you think. Mike,
Don't buy Netflix for this, though.
no, don't buy Netflix for this. Yeah, I would agree with that. I don't think it's that
That good.
solid. Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
right.
to be shelling out money for Netflix. But so there you go. And that's going to do it for another episode of the Oh Brother Podcast. I'm your host, Dan Smith. Alongside me, as always, my brother from the same mother, Mike Smith. And we will see you next time.
Bye, everyone.